You know what I mean? Like, oh my gosh, we're not Walmart. You know, you're not walking down the aisle and everything is a different price. It should be very simple. Everything is, everything in that area is just one price. Like, why are we making this so hard? And I know that a lot of this is undoing training that a lot of us have had. And I when we were going through this price, every single size should have a different price. That way you're walking people from the top down, going from 2,000. Okay, well now 1,900. Oh, that's too much. Well then how about something that's 1,800? Oh, that's too much. How about something that's 1,700, right? And so it's completely backwards from what actually you should be doing. But so many photographers were trained this way. And it's you have to undo that mindset.
Hey, and welcome to the Difference Maker Revolution podcast. And all four of us are here again, and we're going to talk about one of our favorite subjects. And we know it's going to help you all because we see many, many photographers struggle with this. And that is pricing for profit. All righty. So,
that's a
guys.
Big statement there, Ronan. What do you mean by pricing for profit? Like what?
We want to make money? We want to make money, Ronan? Is that...
Yes, I know. A lot of photographers seem to take solace in this idea that starving artist syndrome, right? But really, like, why do you want to settle for that? You know, when you make a difference to your client and you create work that they truly value, why do you want to be a starving artist? You know,
I don't.
Beyond me.
Well, and if you're running a business, then that's business's goal is to price for profit, so that way you can contribute to the community and contribute to the people that mean the most to you.
So that's the first segment today, right? Because I know we said that our goal today is to make pricing simple for anyone who's listening. So that's the first mistake people make, right? Is they don't price for profit.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's three main mistakes. We're going to go through all three of them. Imagine that.
3 main mistakes? Only 3?
Oh, I'm sure there's more, but it's only a 30-minute podcast, Ronan. We only have so much time.
There's three mistakes.
Three mistakes,
and besides, we love giving you guys the number 3 because it's fun to hear you say it.
Yeah, I know. We talked about that thing before about going into the garden centre and asking for 3 trees and see what you get. But anyway, we'll move on. All right.
I can't wait till you come to the third one.
So what does pricing for profit actually mean, Jeanine?
It is pricing so that you make a profit. It's right in the title there, Ronan. But no, the problem is so many photographers I find, and I made this mistake too, and I'm sure Steve never makes mistakes, but back in the day, like when you're starting out, you don't realize all the costs that truly go into your business. You know, you might look at the costs it takes to print something or to create a canvas or to create a treasure box or whatever it is that you're offering, and you double it, right? Because you're a retail operation. And so you double that and you think you're good. And you think that you'll make money this way because it's what you do. You double the cost and you're good to go, right? And that's how you end up seeing it. But you're not taking into account there's so much more in running your business than the cost of what that product is that you're selling.
And pricing can be complex, right? Like we have just spent, how long have we spent, guys? About 4 months building the most amazing piece of software on the planet, built around all the principles that we teach on how to produce your pricing, right? And just think about us now, us so-called tuned in people, right? And then all the rest of the people in the company who've helped us with this, right? And look at the challenge it's been for us to get a piece of software written to be able to do this, right? So it's not something that's easy to price for profit.
Ronan just couldn't help himself teasing that calculator before we get to that part of the podcast. Couldn't help himself. But no, you're right, Ronan. And it's kind of like when you go to make a system and you realize you might not fully understand everything it takes to reach a goal, because when you go to try and make this system, you realize how complex it actually is. And it's the same thing when you're going to write software. Like there is no intuition that goes into a logical statement, right? So they're quizzing us and asking us questions to be able to write this software. And it's like, oh, well, I don't get it. It's not based on feeling. I actually have to have real answers to go in to create these calculations.
And we have to think of everybody's scenario too.
Yeah.
So, if we were writing a studio's individual, price list, then we probably could have written 500 of those in that amount of time. But, we need to consider everybody's unique circumstances and build it all in. So that's really important too.
All right. So what's your biggest number one tip for pricing for profit, Jonathan?
My number one tip. Right. So here's what I would do personally.
Use the calculator?
Apart from using the calculator, being a huge fan of profit first and seeing the impact that it can have in your business, right? I would consider that I want my cost of goods to be at 20%, which is basically the total cost of the product, including delivery and any taxes, multiplied by 5. So I would aim for a multiplier of 5 on every product I offer, personally.
As a minimum.
As a minimum.
Right.
And I know that people, may not have the confidence to be able to multiply every product they offer by 5, and that they may have situations where they work from home, so they don't have the same overhead as other businesses. And as a result, they may be able to offer it for less than that. But if I was doing it personally, that's what I would be aiming for.
But that doesn't apply to everything, right, Jeanine? Because, I can go to a lab and I can get a 10 by 8 print for $2, so.
Correct.
Yeah, that's what I meant. I meant when I was saying everything, I meant, your treasure boxes and your wall art. I wasn't talking about the individual prints, so thanks for clarifying. Go ahead, Jeanine. Yeah. My bad.
Or for folks who sell a digital collection, they're like, oh, there's no cost for that, right? That's why the understanding the cost to run your business is so critical when it comes to putting this all together, right? And so you got to look at, there's insurance costs, there's taxes, there is equipment, rent. Even if you're working from home, you should be paying yourself rent. And you should, there are huge tax advantages to it too, but you should be paying yourself rent because one day you might want to be in a retail location. Now you're building it in, right? So there's lots of things that go into the cost. There's packaging, there's advertising, there's marketing, everything that it takes, that all has to come from somewhere, and it comes from selling your portraits. And also something that I've seen so many people forget is sometimes, you make a mistake and you have to order it twice. And you can't provide amazing customer service to your client and then ask them to pay for it. And so you might have to order that $300 product again to get it right for your client. And now if you've only charged twice, you are now losing money on that order, right? So there are those factors that you have to consider and take into account as well.
You have to pay yourself too.
And you have to pay yourself.
And your team. If you have
There's
a team.
really big list. In fact, it's funny, back in the day, I had done this PPA course a long time ago. I'm talking 2000. It was Anne Monteith taught it. And it was everything that goes into making an 8x10. And that was just the example they used, right? Because again, from the conversation you and Jonathan had, it was, oh, well, you just, multiply by 5 the 70-cent print. Oh, I should only charge $5 for my 8x10.
No, I never said that.
I know. And so she walked you through in an Excel spreadsheet everything that goes into a single 8x10, and it ends up being $175 if you want to actually price for profit on the time, because you have your time. And so it's the time of the session, the time of the editing, the time of your design consultation, the time of talking on the phone, the time of delivery. All of this time adds up. And again, you gotta pay for it. So it was very interesting, and I think very eye-opening for me back then. It was a really eye-opening exercise to go through on what it actually cost me. It doesn't cost me 70 cents to print an 8x10. It cost me $175. And so it's very interesting when you walk through that exercise. It opens your eyes into everything that actually goes into what it is that you do.
Funny you should mention that, Jeanine. I did the same exercise. I did the same exercise on what it cost me for a client to be in my studio.
Yep.
And so rather than it being an 8x10, I costed out what it cost me to actually serve a client. And I was shocked because the time that they sit in there, you are calculating the rent that you're paying, you're calculating the phone charges, you're calculating the marketing, you're calculating, at the time I had staff, so my staff's time as well as my time, waiting for them. Often, sometimes you're waiting for them. And it shocked me to know that it cost me over $300 just for that person to sit in that chair and be my client. And so we have to recover all of these costs. And until you sit down and work it out, you don't really realize what it costs you to actually
run
operate.
your business. Yeah.
I know what to do. Just
What?
check all the photographers in your town and see what they're charging.
Way to segue into problem number 2, Ronan. Look at you.
That's a big mistake, looking at your competition and basing your price based on what other people charge, because everyone has different costs. Everyone has different confidence levels. And it's just a huge mistake.
And most photographers get pricing wrong anyway, so why would you do that?
Well, it's not just photographers. A lot of other businesses, struggle with this as well.
Yeah, I'm not having a go at photographers on their own, but it's true. Like, why would you? And like, we've all been there. Like, I remember when we were launching 3XM first, and that's only 2016. Like, I did do a competitor analysis, which you should do, of course, and I did look at their pricing. But often, like, when you do that, you think that, well, I can't have my pricing that much different because of it, and today, like, there's no folio box in the market that is even close to us in price. Why? Because we're the most expensive by a long way, but we're not expensive because of what we do and the service we give and the quality we produce and everything else that wraps around that. So, but if I was thinking with that mindset, I'd be going, I can't charge more than that person or that person, that person. Well, we've proven we do because of the level of service and quality and the experience that we deliver our clients.
Which is why expensive has nothing to do with how much something costs.
Right.
It's about the value that we give.
And we're not a commodity. The only thing that trades on price is commodities. And if you're working on price, the only way to go is down. And that's never a good place to be. It's not how you want to run a business, especially in a business that we offer, because we're making a difference to people's lives. And what we're providing for a family is so much more valuable than the print that they are taking home from their session. That's just a byproduct, in my opinion. Like, that's just that's what they're taking away from the experience. It's not the only thing that they're getting from the experience. They're not going to a store and buying a stock image from Walmart of some other kid. It's the experience that they're going through. And now they have the photograph as a memory of the experience that they had and everything, all the changes that happened during that experience for them. So it's so much more. This isn't a commodity. We're not trading on coffee, and even that, like, you can look, although Jonathan and I had a big discussion last night about the goods and the bads of what's happening now in the coffee industry, but that's okay. Even then, you take a coffee shop and you take a commodity, you add additional services to it, you speak to your client, you can charge more than the standard cost of coffee. Right? So it's not about the price of what it costs you or what your competitors are charging.
So, Jeanine, let's dive into that coffee thing, because I think there's a great point in that, right? Because as you say, you can buy instant coffee and make it with hot water at home. Or you can buy a machine that actually grinds coffee beans, if you want that type of coffee. Or you can go to Starbucks like you often do, right? So, like, why do you go to Starbucks and pay probably 15 times the cost of making your own coffee at home?
Especially when it tastes like crap.
I know. Well, it's a interesting debate there with Jonathan on the taste of coffee. But so, it's funny, but we're going to go down the wrong rabbit hole here because I brought up Starbucks and coffee. But one, you do it for convenience, honestly, right? Like, I don't want to have to I don't have time to make my own coffee or whatever the case may be, but it's how it makes you feel, right? And it's a social thing with Starbucks, and we could go into a whole long thing about purchasing coffee from coffee shops, and specifically Starbucks. And honestly, what's happening now, it's bad rabbit hole. But it's how you feel, how that company treats you, and the experience that you go through, the transformation of drinking that specific type of coffee. It makes you feel good. Or does it? It makes you feel good, and you want to be part of this community that drinks this coffee. It's why coffee shops, like local coffee shops, people, same thing. Like I'll go to a local, I want to support local businesses, and I want to support other small businesses and be part of that community that does that as a small business in my community. And so, but there's a sense of community. You go in and you see people, you get to share, you get to have conversation, you get to be in the world, not just stuck in your office. And so I like to go out and I like to see people, and I like to have conversations and say hi to the barista. And, it's just a whole experience that you don't get when you make coffee in your kitchen.
Oh, hold on a minute now, because
Jonathan talks to his dad when he has coffee in his kitchen.
We invested in a €1,200 Sage coffee machine that grinds your own beans. In America, it's called Breville. Breville, is that in America?
Yeah, I think so.
So Breville in America is Sage in Ireland and the rest of the world for some reason. So Steve has one too.
It's Breville in Australia.
It's Breville in Australia, is it? Okay. Oh, interesting.
Well, guess what, Jonathan? My boyfriend bought me a $3,000 camera for Christmas, so I really don't need to go to a photographer. I can just take my own photos.
But what I'm getting the point of, for me, the experience I love is making quality coffee at home.
That's because you don't like people.
There's a personality thing. Thank you, Jeanine. There's a personality thing going on there too. There's the extrovert versus the introvert going on there. Steve and Jeanine can't survive half an hour without talking to somebody. Like Steve, when he's working at home in his office, he just needs to get out of the home office and see people. Well, I'm happy to sit in my office all day and see nobody.
I haven't left the house for 8 days straight before. It's great.
I'm being conditioned now. There are times when I haven't left the house in 3 days. But anyway, we're getting off topic.
All right, bring us back in there, Steve.
Oh, another thing people tend to do when they look at their competition and base their pricing off it is that they think that they have to have the same product as their competition. They're now bringing in products that they don't have the confidence to sell, or, price it for profit. And they're pretty much losing money because they don't have the confidence to ask for the margins. And I think a lot of photographers sometimes believe they have to have a certain type of product, or are convinced by a lab that they need the top quality product, but they're still working on their confidence. They're still working on building their confidence to ask for a reasonable amount of money for that. And to those photographers, you need to not sell that and maybe sell something that is professional, still looks good, but may not cost you. It doesn't have all of the options. And you can build your way up to having the confidence to sell that super luxury product in time. But you can't afford to go out of business while you're building that confidence up. So, match the product that you're choosing to your confidence level. So then that way, when we talked about pricing for product, you're still maintaining that level of profit on everything that you're selling. Really important.
So, Steve, this is not something talked about a lot in our industry. In fact, I don't think I've heard any other educator talk about confidence when it comes to pricing. So, talk a little bit more about that in terms of needing to have confidence in the price you pick and where that confidence comes from.
I think it's a huge issue. And because we work with so many different photographers and so many different studios, we see so much we see so much of what's going on, and sometimes because, we've been talked into selling something, we don't have the confidence to sell it. It affects so many different areas of our business. So sometimes because somebody doesn't have the confidence to sell something, it really affects their ability to book people, because they don't have the confidence to quote over the phone, or they don't have that confidence that when the client comes in, that they're going to be confident enough to talk about buying product. So it not only affects the bookings, but then it also affects their confidence all the way through. So, at some point you've got to talk about product. At some point you've got to talk about, somebody paying you for something, and you need to work within your comfort zone and your confidence zone. Challenge yourself a bit, because you need to grow in that area, but not to the detriment that you can't book people, or it affects your bookings and you struggle to sell something. So I know, there was a huge thing a while ago, I need that $5,000 product to make everything else cheaper, but sometimes it disables people. And so then there's no business and there's no money because you don't have the confidence, which doesn't help anyone.
And sometimes, Jeanine, we've seen people borrow their confidence in the wrong thing, right? We've seen people say, I'm going to put this $2,500 gold frame around the portrait. And they're trying to borrow or justify the $5,000 based on a $2,500 frame, which means that you're not pricing for profit at all.
Yeah. You're not making any money because, it cost you everything it took to sell it.
So here's what I'm hearing, right? Because this is really interesting. I'm hearing that, confidence is a key thing, because, you have to price for confidence, but you also have to price for profit. So, what's our approach then to pricing? Where do we start? Like, where do I'm sitting down now, right? And you guys are going to tell me how I'm going to go about my pricing. So, like, what do I start with?
You've got to start with knowing and having a plan on what you want to be paid. Because if you're going to give up working for somebody or give up time, then you need to be compensated for that time. And so, knowing what the goals are, where the goal is, as a starting point is really important. But I also think you also need to understand what clients, want to buy. The reality is we are in retail. Customers are coming to us and they're buying. And if a retail store has nothing to sell, then the clients have nothing to buy. And so we need to really begin to understand our clients and understand why this is even relevant to them, given that, they all carry a phone with them everywhere they go, why they buy and what they love to display in their homes. So then you can determine, what is the right product that we should be offering. But you also need to do the math and work out what your capacity is, how much you need to earn, what you want to be paid, and then work out how many clients you need in order to fulfill those goals.
Right. That's a lot. So what's the difference maker unique approach then to helping me with pricing with this amazing pricing success calculator you guys have mentioned already? Like what just describe to me sort of why it's structured the way it is and how it is structured.
Well, it's built to take into account everything that you need to think about. Because I think a lot of the times people are unaware that they haven't priced properly. And so by having this calculator, it asks you and prompts you for all of the things that you need to consider when working out how much to charge for something. We've even put in the the allowance that we, sometimes we have promotional gift certificates that include a certain amount towards a product. And so, that's got to be factored into your pricing, because otherwise you're giving money away. So I think it takes the I don't know what I didn't know away and it makes you aware of all of the things that you need. But it also, the beauty of what this pricing calculator does, I don't think anybody's ever factored this in before, is it gives you different confidence levels, and it gives you the number for each of the products that you choose that you want to sell. And we've worked out what people love to buy, so that's in there too. So you're just going to be selling things that most clients want to buy anyway. But you can then choose what your personal confidence level is, and you're not then choosing a price based on what you believe your competition would charge.
So what you're saying to me, because this is quite different than what I see in the marketplace, right? Because in the marketplace, what I often see is I go to my lab, right? Or my lab comes to visit me, and I say, so what's selling, right? And they say, well, you should sell this, this, and this, and it should be this finish and all that. And I'm not having to go with the labs, but maybe they don't have our best interests at hand, that they want to sell us the product that's the most expensive, that they make their most money on, which is a little bit short-sighted, but I've seen it done, right?
Well, the other thing is that most of them have never worked in a studio. And so, they're doing the best they can with what they have.
Yes.
They've never
absolutely
been in this situation, most of them.
Yeah. And most of them haven't gone through the process of creating a pricing calculator like we have, right? To help you with all of this, to make sure you do get it right. But okay, so there's that piece. And then, Jeanine, this calculator, right? So I presume it's going to print me out a price list that has 32 items on it. I took 3 again. Why did I do that? 32 items. 32 items on it.
And here I thought it was, he was getting away from having to say the third problem that most photographers face is making their price list too complicated. He got away from saying third, but said 30.
Make sure I say it.
Has 32 items on it, right? To make pricing really, 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 really simple for both myself and my staff, if I've got staff, and of course, most importantly, for my client.
Yeah, and Ronan, you hit it on the head. So that is I think one of the biggest challenges that I have seen most photographers put upon themselves is they make their price list so complicated. It takes a freaking degree to figure it out. Your clients are going to get confused. They're going to get stuck in a logical mode because they're now picking between different prices, and you're not even remember. Like, the worst thing you could be is when someone says, well, how much does that cost? Oh, I don't know. Let me go look it up. Right? Oh, dear God.
Drives me crazy. It just shows you haven't a clue about your business. Like, how long are you here?
Like, how in the world do you have to go look that up? So if your pricing is too complicated and you can't fit it in your head, it's too complicated, and so that is a big mistake. And with the complicated price list, having all these different skitty gazillion prices is also offering everything under the sun, and if you confuse if people are confused, they're not going to buy. If people are confused, they're no longer enjoying the experience. They're not now they're frustrated. They're upset. They're stuck in this logical state. It's just awful. Why would you ever want to put your client there? Why do we want to put yourself there? That's just hard. Don't make it hard. Why are people making it so hard? Make it simple. Make it very, very like it. And it's interesting. And Steve teaches this in the pricing training, and it's handled in the calculator too, which is brilliant. Like if something is $780 and something else is $795, why the heck are those two different prices? You know what I mean? Like, oh my gosh, we're not Walmart. You're not walking down the aisle and everything is a different price. It should be very simple. Everything in that area is just one price. Like, why are we making this so hard? And I know that a lot of this is undoing training that a lot of us have had. And I when we were going through this price and working on this price calculator, I kind of walked the guys through a lot of the training I had, and it's, for years, it was every single size should have a different price. That way you're walking people from the top down, and they're just taking little tiny little, like going from 2000. Okay, well now 1900. Oh, that's too much. Well, then how about something that's 1800? Oh, that's too much. How about something that's 1700, right? And so it's completely backwards from what actually you should be doing. But so many photographers were trained this way. And it's you have to undo that mindset that this is what you do. And if you think about it from making it just easy, just make it easy. It's why, like, when I go shopping, oh my gosh, I can't look through racks. Like, I'm like one of those people, I'll buy whatever's on the mannequin. I just want it easy. Just make it easy.
I don't know what to buy.
Do you too?
Yeah.
I know, we're the same.
I'm at a restaurant. Just tell me what's the most popular thing on the menu.
Yeah, just give it to me, you know? I don't care. So you got to make it easy. When you make it complicated, this is why you end up having problems when you're trying to sell your photography. You've made it too complicated for your client, for your team, and for yourself.
And you were right on, Jeanine, when you talked about why make it hard for yourself, because a lot of the times when your pricing is complicated, you begin to get unsure. You begin to question yourself. You start to have to think about everything. And I'm a strong believer that our clients borrow their confidence from us. And if your pricing is complicated and difficult and you're second guessing yourself and you're having to look it up, the clients are picking that up. And I know when I'm out shopping, when somebody's confident and they're confidently helping you and they're confidently advising you, it's an incredible experience, and you always spend way more with that person. In a lot of cases, when someone has to look up the prices, I'd lose total confidence in that person. And I tend to walk out and go and find the other person who doesn't have to look it up, who knows the product, who understands the benefits, who knows how much it is. And so I think because our clients rely on borrowing their confidence from us, we have to create a price list that we understand and know that isn't complicated, so we can be confidently advising them and really come off as the professional, because they're really looking to us to help them decide, because a lot of people feel very vulnerable when it comes to purchasing photography and choosing what to display in their homes. And so they really are relying on borrowing our confidence when we're giving them that advice.
Okay, I'm all in. Jono, tell me, how do I get hold of all this amazing training, all of these amazing calculators and tools that's going to help me price for profit and to create the business that I'm dreaming of?
Makes it a no-brainer, Jonathan.
Well,
the
only way for you to make 2025 your best year yet is to be a member of the Inner Circle, because that's where all the magic is happening. So inside the Inner Circle, not only will you get access to the pricing calculator that we've just discussed today that makes your pricing simple, you're going to get access to a community of thriving photographers who are making a difference to their clients, and as a result, they're building the photography business of their dreams. So all you have to do is just click the link below this video and apply to join the Inner Circle today, and it will change your business. It will change your life. Can't wait to see you inside.
Alrighty, so we'll see you on the next podcast. Bye from me.
Bye, everyone.
Ciao, bella.